All right, I think we are ready. So, welcome everyone. My name is Xochitl Cazador, and I lead ecosystem growth at the Celo Foundation. I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. We have a special Twitter space that we are doing live from Consensus Austin at the ReFi House. So very excited to be here with Kemal from Chainlink and with Marek from cLabs to talk about the Celo and Chainlink integration. So I know that for our community out there, especially our builders in the ReFi space, Chainlink has been one of the most requested integrations of the ecosystem. So we're very excited that this is coming to life. I wanted to kick it off to you, Kemal, first, and talk a little bit about use cases and the Chainlink services that really we're able to unlock with this integration for developers both now and in the future.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're really focusing on building this Web3 services platform around these three use cases: data, compute, and cross-chain. Now, Web3 is this really incredible opportunity for developers to create apps that are provably fair, that are transparent, that essentially let users remain in full ownership of their data and their assets. But any of those really exciting use cases require one thing. They require connecting the on-chain logic to Web 2, be it for data, for compute, and that's the problem that Chainlink solves, right? So the first area is just in DeFi. Any DeFi app needs external pricing data, and that's been historically where Chainlink has created this incredible standard thanks to all the partners working with us. And that's really the first big use cases that we see and that we're really excited to bring to the Celo community. Then the other areas where Chainlink has been really finding a lot of success with developers is in compute. So for example, automation, helping create apps that will automate certain processes in a fully trust minimized, conflict interest-free way. And then there are all the cross-chain use cases that are also really interesting. So these are the three main areas that we help developers with, and we're really excited to bring this to the Celo community. I think the mobile first angle is really incredible. I think this brings a level of accessibility that will open up really interesting use cases. We're very proud of all the amazing partners that we've been able to build this standard with. Just to give you an example, just an idea of order of magnitude, I believe we're getting close to the $8 trillion value enabled in the last 12 months, which is pretty incredible. And so, yeah, we're excited to see what Celo developers are going to do with Chainlink services.
Yeah, I think those services are really awesome. As I think those of us in Web3 know that the developer numbers have just been growing, and it's great to create services and features that are going to make it easier for developers to onboard into Web3. So really, really exciting. Marek, one of the things that I love the most about Web3, and a little biased here with Celo, but is this composability. So how we can take some of the building blocks that exist in DeFi and apply them to new and exciting use cases that have real world impact. Wanted you just to kind of touch on kind of what you're excited about with this integration and kind of what this opens up for the broader ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just a little tiny bit of context for people who are in the Chainlink community and might be new to Celo. I mentioned that Celo is kind of an EVM compatible proof of stake chain. With kind of accessibility in mind, what does that actually mean in practice? It means that Celo was built from the ground up to have a bunch of features that make it particularly easy for people to build really delightful and easy to use mobile applications on top of. And so Celo has this primitive called Social Connect that lets folks connect their phone number in a privacy-preserving way to their wallet. This allows people to send payments to any phone number in the world. And it also has the ability to pay for gas with ERC20 tokens, which means that if you're sending a stable coin to someone, for example, to someone's phone number, you can pay for gas with that token. And then to round it off, in order to make all of this work really well on mobile devices, Celo has a ZK Snark-based light client that is particularly efficient and only needs a few kilobytes of data to sync with the chain, which is really, really elegant. And so, thanks to these features, there's a lot of mobile DeFi applications on Celo. And so, I think these are certainly projects that are particularly excited about integrating with Chainlink. Anything DeFi related, certainly, as we've seen on other networks, can benefit hugely from price oracles, lending markets being the main one, but also stablecoin protocols as well. And then a second big use case on Celo is regenerative finance. This came about because Celo was the first network to offset its carbon emissions 3 years ago through an on-chain governance proposal that the community passed literally a week after the network was stood up. And regenerative finance, if you're new to it, it's a type of DeFi that tries to have positive externalities instead of negative externalities. Initially, a lot of these projects are focused on climate, having positive externalities related to climate, and certainly ReFi protocols, because of their connection to the real world, I think are also particularly interested and excited about this announcement, because frequently bringing off-chain data can be quite useful for them as well.
Right. This, I think, is a good segue, Kemal, to the work that Chainlink has been doing. Obviously, there are folks like Charlie Moore that have been leading the charge here, but I'm curious, kind of from your perspective, what you think are some of the most exciting opportunities for developers to make significant real-world impact using Chainlink.
Yes, I think what I find particularly interesting in the mobile-first approach is the accessibility on a global scale, and because we're really just at the early stages of the full DeFi promise, I think that's the area that I find the most interesting, providing the unbanked or the underserved from the financial service perspective with those instruments. That's what DeFi is all about. And I think combining the power of the Chainlink services and the data feeds, the new low latency Oracle product for derivatives that we're working on as well, and we just announced a partnership with GMX there. I think just that use case is going to be pretty phenomenal. The other use case that I find very interesting as well is in the ReFi space. So before Chainlink Labs, I was working in AI at Google. I was leading TensorFlow, Google's machine learning platform, and there are a lot of things that you could do if you can combine satellite imagery, AI, and then bring that information on chain. So, for example, you could very easily bring the information on chain whether a given parcel has a forest or not, right? And the latest product we launched at eDenver, Chainlink Functions, enables any smart contract to bring any information available from a Web2 endpoint on chain. So I think bringing those together with Celo's ReFi approach would be very exciting.
Super cool. So we, I wanted to make sure that we have a second to talk about Chainlink Scale. This was really exciting because it was actually put forward as a community proposal within the Celo ecosystem, and it was exciting to see a lot of the support around this. And Marek, wanted to ask, like, from your perspective, curious kind of like your opinion in terms of the community sort of rallying around this, and what you think this brings to the broader ecosystem.
Definitely, yeah, and I think it's a true testament to the power of on-chain governance. This was a really exciting proposal to follow. I think there was a lot of discussion and both on the forum and also on various calls. It was just really exciting to see the whole community come together and really dig into this so much. And so just for context, T-Mobile and Deutsche Telekom, who are pretty active, I would say, in both the Chainlink and Celo ecosystem, they brought forward a proposal to use the Celo Community Fund, which is a DAO, governed by Celo holders, to fund a Chainlink SCALE Program on Celo. And the proposal passed with, I think, over 99% support. And it's a pretty sizable proposal. And yeah, it was really, really cool to see all of that happen. And, of course, this unlocks this new partnership with Chainlink, but also a big pool of capital for subsidizing Oracle reporting on Celo, which should be, hopefully interesting for developers who can get started with Chainlink oracles on Celo without having to pay for gas for those price feeds or those function calls themselves. And then in terms of, why the community voted so much in favor, I can only speak to folks who I interacted with while kind of discussing this proposal. But, generally, I think, certainly the Celo community is excited about Chainlink and sees Chainlink as, a very fundamental primitive for building DeFi, but, increasingly also ReFi applications. Certainly it's the market leader. And, if you talk to the DevRel team at the Celo Foundation, it's frequently cited as one of the top requested developer features from the community. And so I think there's a lot of projects that can now be unlocked with Chainlink coming to Celo. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Amazing. And just quick follow on. So we are obviously at consensus at the ReFi House, and we spent the last couple of days hosting builder events and builder breakfasts. What kind of conversation are you hearing from developers? Like, what level of innovation, or what kind of innovation are you excited to see from developers now that they have access to Chainlink?
Yeah, really great question. I think I think in the tokenized carbon offset credit space, I think there's a lot of utility for Chainlink and oracles in general. I think voluntary carbon credits frequently get a bad rap in the broader industry because there are some problems with them. I think they do a lot of good, but it's still a relatively new field, and historically there have been some issues around quality. It's not always very obvious, what is the actual impact and quality of the carbon credits that you're purchasing. That's made worse because these things are traded, with OTC desks, and there's very little price transparency and price discovery. Sometimes they're even double spent or double retired. And so crypto really is a great enabler for solving these issues, right? You can't double spend on blockchains. You also have great DeFi protocols that give you great price transparency. But critically on the quality front, this is something where I think crypto and specifically oracles can really, really help. because what you can accomplish, and what a lot of ReFi builders are excited to accomplish, is a way of bringing what people call MRV on chain, so that you can measure, record, and verify the impact of these credits on chain in a way where anybody interacting with these credits can easily see in a verifiable way on chain that these credits are having the impact that they claim. So earlier, Kemal was talking about satellite data and using AI to infer whether or not, for example, trees that were planted as part of a nature-backed asset credit are still there. That's one really great example, but you can also have methane sensors and a whole bunch of other different sensors that can report on the impact of these initiatives. And if we can report those things back on chain, then you can have a lot of you can bring a lot of certainty of the impact of these initiatives, of the impact of these underlying credits to the people holding them or to the people considering buying them.
Amazing. And for those of you that are wondering when, I think the teams are very busy on the integration, and I know that there are several activation events planned to engage more builders in the space, and so really excited about the next steps here. We have a few minutes, and so would love to open it up to anyone in the audience to ask a question of Marek and Kemal.
Sure, yeah. If anyone has a question, feel free to hop up. While people are maybe thinking about their questions, I had an interesting thought when talking to Kemal earlier today that might also be interesting. I think, just on the topic of future use cases, it just occurred to me that because Celo has a Ziki Snark-like client, one interesting potential use of on-chain oracles is actually to provide verifiable off-chain data that can be actually timestamped reliably. And so any on-chain oracle, any output of any Chainlink function on Celo can be then provably verified at a certain block height off-chain using the very efficient ZK Snark-like client. And that got me really excited. I'm not sure what the use cases of that could be, but I could imagine there's probably a few out there. So pretty stoked by that.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting capability, because what we were talking earlier about functions and how this is essentially a do-it-yourself mechanism for developers for whatever use case they have in mind. With functions, they can essentially go pick up that data from any source that they'd like and get it on chain in a fully decentralized and secure way. And that's really what we've seen is this opens up so much creativity and imagination from developers, and they come up with ideas that we would have never really imagined. And I think combining this with again with the mobile first approach, the accessibility, and then now if you can add up this functionality that something is signed on chain and you could verify it from an off-chain perspective, I think that we're going to see some pretty incredible things.
Yeah, I'm excited. I did see a question pop up. Kemal, this one might be for you. The question was asking if Chainlink's VRF feature is coming to Celo.
I believe it is. I believe this was part of the scale agreement. I don't have a particular timeline because I guess this is going to be the next question, but the answer is yes.
It's awesome.
Amazing. Well, if there aren't any more questions from the audience, definitely encourage you to follow along with Celo's Prosper newsletter. We'll give announcements in terms of the Chainlink integration and look for more updates from us on the progress. And thank you all for joining us here at the ReFi House virtually in Austin.